So in my endeavors to be the know-it-all of 125 transmissions, I bought a spare valve body off eBay. This is a brand new one from a 90s Beretta with a V6. So I popped out the TV boost valve bushing and valve. And here it is right here. And this is the reverse boost valve. And this is different than my Turbo Sunbird boost valve. Mine was, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say it was 261 on the small section and 352 in the big section. This one measures 235 on the small section, and boom. What does that say? It says 335 on the big section. And the most important piece of all was the TV boost valve itself. My Turbo Sunbird one was 0.365. This one is 344. If you remember from one of my older videos, Transgo had said that there were two TV boost valves, a 299 and a 344. So score one for Transgo. That is 344. So it's not quite Turbo Sunbird spec 0.365, but it ain't bad. So the rest of it is pretty, mundane. Is the pressure regulator spring and its internal spring, and the Transgo shift kit has that bumper piece that does away with the inner spring. I'll show you that when I get to my shop. The regulator valve is the same. They're all the same. This is all the same. It's got the shorter spring in it. Squeaky too. Squeaky, squeaky. So that's all for that. But I have other trinkets I want to show you, so stand by. And in case you want to see what a 344 TV boost valve and a 0.365 TV boost valve look like next to each other, there you go. Not a vast difference, but there's a difference. And there's no groove between the sides either for some reason. Hey there, Sunbird Nation. I picked up a few trinkets I wanted to share with you guys. The first one is nothing super exciting, but if you look at your ATSG rebuild book, it talks about this thermostatic element, which is this guy in the case. And to my understanding, what that does is, because the pan is so shallow on the 125, you can't hold enough fluid. So when you fill this thing up, it actually fills up past the pan up into the case up in here. This is the side cover, the bolt's on there. So the thermostatic element opens at some point to allow fluid to rise into this chamber, if you want to call it that. And then at a certain temperature, it goes the other way and lets the fluid back out again. So what the manual mainly is telling you is if you have to change this element because it's not working, and I have no idea how you know if it wasn't working, you need this special tool to set the clearance. So I picked one up just to check it. It's this little guy here. I like buying this Kentmore stuff for the transmissions, whether it's a 204 hour or 125, 400, because they're super cheap. Most of the stuff is cheap. I mean, this thing here, that red handle, that's the low reverse clutch installer. Those things are like $150 typically, so that's not cheap. I waited and I found that one for like $70, brand new. I don't know why it's so cheap. It works awesome, but if you hunt around, you'll find them. But by and large, these little guys like this stuff, it's super cheap. This was like $9. You honestly pay almost more in shipping than for the part. So how you use this thing, again, it's in the manual. You take this upper element piece, swing it out of the way, and this thing, you're supposed to use this square cut in it to determine the height of the, they call it a pin. I would say this is an actual oil transfer tube. It's got a hole in it. And you just put the thing on it and make sure it touches the case. And if there's no air gap, you're good. Otherwise, you just drive it in with this thing, like with a hammer. And the other way you use it is this gizmo here. They call these things washers. I don't call them washers, but they call them washers. So you take this thing and you put it on end and you stick it under the washer and on top of the element, and that gives you your play. And there's none, there's zero. And that is how you use it. As best I can figure. I mean, I don't work for Hydromatic. I never did, and it isn't like there's a training course I'm aware of that someone says, hey, this is how you use it. So this is what I figured out from reading the manual. I mean, it shows it right there. It shows that thing going down to set the pin height. They're calling it a roll pin, I guess. And then you use it on the end to set the washer height. So that's how you use this gizmo. And this is their part number J. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. J29023. It's in the book. I should just read the book, honestly. J29023. There it is. Thermo pin height. So I guess that's a thermo pin, they call this guy. I don't know. So that's one of the interesting things I recently found. Not very exciting, I know. Hang on, the excitement is coming. So, there's also a tool in the book that they mention to set the proper servo pin height. This gizmo is a Kentmore. I should have this all queued up, but I'm not a professional. It is a J28535. And what you do with this thing is you stick the pin in the case, and then this thing has a sleeve that goes over the pin. See it? That goes over the pin, and this bolts to the case and two of the bolt holes for the servo cover. And just, and you take a torque wrench, put it in here like this, and then you just pull it to 100 inch-pounds, or I believe it's 11.2 Newton meters. And then what you do is read this little window here. There's a white line scribed in the shaft. And when the white line appears, you are correct. So you bring this thing up to like 11.2. Let's go to like 12 because I'm cheating. That's actually more Newton meters than that. So there's like 15 Newton meters, okay? The white line is showing. My pin, I want to say it was the short pin. I would have to check. I tried it a few times and it wasn't in the window. So what I figured out, this is my opinion, there's no reason you can't put a washer between the pin. I mean, I got a pin and show you. So the tool, this part of the tool, that part bottoms on this edge of the pin. So what you're really looking for is the distance from here to here. And going by the groove on the pin, they're longer. All they really do is they add it here. You can grind it down or weld to it, whatever you want to do. In 24 hours, we weld on them and grind them all the time. So anyway, if you stuck a washer right here, to me, that's the same thing as lengthening the pin. So I threw a couple of washers in here, and I think I have a 23 thousandths washer and a 10 thousandths washer. It makes a huge difference. It doesn't take much to change this relationship. So don't be afraid, in my opinion, to throw a couple of washers in there. So now I have this thing set. I mean, honestly, I can't see what difference the pin length makes other than they want the stroke of the piston to be in the proper relationship to the apply of the pin. So, I mean, it bottoms at some point. I don't think my type of piston, this custom guy here I made, is gonna have any problem having the proper amount of stroke. But evidently GM does. Maybe the stock stuff runs out of room, so they want the pin a certain length. I mean, there is no setting in the GM book for the stroke of the piston. This is it. This is the whole settings. That's why I guess this is so critical for GM. But looking at how a stock one stacks up on this thing, it's got a lot of play. I mean, there's probably 150 thousandths. That's a lot of play between the band and the drum. When I was using this piston, I was setting it between 16th and 8th. That's 062 and 125. So I was settling on 100. That's what's in my car right now, right around 100. 105, 98, whatever you end up with, it's close enough. Stock clearance, they don't give you one. It just tells you measure this pin. So that's probably why it's so important, just so you're in the ballpark. The Transgo shift kit tells you to set it between 30 and 80 thousand, 35 and 80 thousandths, I believe. That's tight. To me, that's awfully tight. My friend from Transgo, who was helping me out a little, said that the GM spec or the factory clearance is very generous. He said tighter is better. Obviously you want it to release. It can't burn up the band, but he said the stock spec is very loose. The tighter you make it, the faster it applies. Well, yeah, I get that, but I guess too tight will burn it up. So I don't know what the proper running clearance is on a 204R. I usually shoot for 16th, 062, that area. So I think 100 is a safe number for me. So that's what I'll shoot for. And for me, I measure from the case to the piston. I'll show you how I do that. I think I did it before, but I'll do it again when I set this thing up. So there you go. There's your tool. There's how you use it. There is a calibration tool for this thing, I guess, to set the relationship between the hole and the white line, you know, because this thing screws in, but it's fixed. It won't move. I don't know if they Loctite it in or what. So I bought that too, but there's no instructions, and I don't know how to use it. It's this thing. It's just a slug. That's like a 28-535-50. I thought you put it on here, and then you pull this thing down, and then it gives you height, but it stops there. So I don't know how it works. I guess I'm dumb. I try to put it in here. It doesn't really fit, and it's very big. Look at it. It's swimming. So I don't know where it goes. I Googled it, and I can't find anything obvious. If you guys know how to use it, let me know. Maybe I'm just that dumb. So I'm going to assume that mine is in the right position. Hopefully it is. I can't see how anybody would change it. I mean, there's no vice grip marks on it, and this thing is in there. So that's how you use this tool. That's how you set your pin height. And there's one more thing I want to show you that I thought was pretty cool. So stand by for that. In my relentless hunting for 125 parts and tools on eBay, I found this thing. It's a Fairbanks servo pin. It's adjustable. They claim it's adjustable. I don't think it is. So I bought it. It was 20 bucks. Guy wanted 25 plus shipping. I said, hey, we take 20, and he said, sure. He had two of them, and by the time I bought this one, he had sold one. There must be some other guy out there who builds 125s. I'm not the only one, evidently. It's a Fairbanks servo apply pin, and you can see that this is a sexy friggin' pin. I mean, look at this thing. It's way long. I mean, I'll show you a stock pin. Here's a stock pin. It's a lot longer. It's about 1/4 inch, 5/16 longer. They moved the seal a little bit, which I don't think is of any consequence. It's got this spring on it right there. Look at that guy, huh? It's also got this spring, which goes in the front of the piston right there. And here's the coolest thing to me. It's got this card. And you take this card, you put it all together, put it in the case, and you look at the instructions, it shows you. When you get it all set up in the car, you take this piece of paper, and this touches the piston, and this touches the case. Boom, see it? And that tells you you're there. And you're supposed to put washers between the pin and the piston to juggle the relationship. See that right there in the picture. It's supposed to have a thick washer and a thin washer. And then when you're done, you put the extra washer behind the E-ring, blah, blah, blah. And this ledge right here, I measured it this morning, it's 0.320. So when all said and done, they want 320 from the piston to the edge of the case. I'll have to work backwards. I figured it out. It's around 100 thousandths, 1/8 inch clearance. So that's pretty much what I'm doing already. But the thing I thought was cool was the spring. That would be your cushion spring. I don't know why it has two springs. I guess, again, I'm not an engineer. I don't work for Hydromatic. I don't work for Fairbanks. I don't work for Transgo. I don't know shit. So I'm just supposing. I'm supposing that what they're saying is we want this thing to hit hard, to hit fast. We want a long-ass pin, but we don't want to break shit, so we'll put a spring in here. So when it compresses the band, it's got some give to it. You know, mine has no give. There's no spring, there's no nothing. I was just thinking the hydraulic pressure is only going to push it so far, and it's going to stop, but maybe I'm all wet on that one. I don't know. So this is what they do. Now, what I wanted to do was copy this thing so I can have multiples. I can have one for my car, and one on that tranny, and one for spare trannies, and all that stuff. The problem with taking it apart is there's a pin right there that holds this thing in. If you put this in a vise, it crushes and this pin moves in. Not a whole lot, but it moves. So I'm guessing there's a slot in it or something, and that's what holds it in. So to get it out, I'll have to drill it out. It doesn't come out the other side. So once I drill it out, I've ruined it. So I have to make a new pin and all that stuff. I mean, I would love to make more of these. I have never seen one for sale. I even asked the guy where he got it, and he didn't answer me. I sent a picture of this thing to the guy from Transgo who was helping me. He didn't respond. I think he's finally done helping me. I think he figured, you're doing weird shit. I don't want to be party to it, so bye. Which is fine, whatever. So I thought it was kind of cool. I would share it with you guys. I will put it in this tranny. I mean, I did it once. I'll do it again. I'll mock it up. and I'll see what running clearance it has at the gauge card height. And that will tell you what Fairbanks wants, as opposed to my builder and as opposed to Transgo. But I thought it was kind of cool. I've never seen it before. Maybe I'll see one again, I don't know, but I think it's neat. So let me try doing this with one hand. I have the Fairbanks pin installed in the case. I have one shim on it. I have a stock piston. What they want you to do is push it in all the way and take your paper card and see what the clearance is. Oh. So I'm pushing up my stomach, which is the only good time to be fat, I guess. So you take this thing and you stick it in here, and you can see there's a huge gap. See it? Back out here. See it? The big gap. It's not touching the piston. So, that's wrong. So you take it back out, and you put another washer on it. The Fairbanks instructions say there's a thick washer and a thin washer. When I got it, there was only one washer, so these are washers. The second washer, rather, is a washer I had kicking around, so it'll be fine. All right, so that's in all the way. One more time with this guy. And what do we got? Still a huge gap, right? Huge gap. You know what? Let's just use this big fat one. Fuck it. Okay, what we got here? Now we went too far. I got a gap. Okay. It's freaking tedious, I will say that. So that was too much. So let's go baby steps. This is 10 and I think a 28 that I had it previously on my custom piston. All right, so let's try that. Ooh, we're close, we're close. We're close. Need a little more washer and we're there. Another 10th thou maybe. Let's try this guy. At this point, I'm just throwing washers in just so you guys can see this. When it's done for real, I will get washers that are the exact size for the shaft and stuff. This is just a mock-up. Okay, now we've gone too far. Now it's too much gap. Take one out. Bingo, there we go. All right, we're touching the, well, we actually could lose a teeny bit more. I think I have a 10th thou on there, don't I? I think this one's 10th thou, so take that one out. One more time. This time for sure. I think I said that already, didn't I? All right, here we go. Boom, that's it. No air gap, no gap there, 100%. That's it. So that's what they want. Now you gotta get a vernier caliper in here to measure from the case to the piston, but it's not that simple because the cover isn't flat. You see the cover has a raised land right there. So to me, you'd have to measure from that land. Why is this thing so close? Oh, there we go. I think what you got to do, I mean, once this goes in the case, you want to measure the distance from here to the piston and take this and this out because they're going to hit the piston. I mean, at least this one's got to hit the piston. This one, I'm used to my other piston with a flat top. This one has a recess, so that shouldn't hit anything. That should just sit in the recess. So you got to take this into account. That's probably 1/4 inch. So when this thing goes in, you know, it's pushing everything in. Watch it. Right now it's at rest. Once you put this thing on, everything moves in. Watch the piston. See, it just moved in. See? If you can You get that sense of movement, but it's moving in. A 1/4 inch, look at it. So that's taking out clearance right there. So what you got to do, I guess, is figure backwards. Take this out so you have a 0 point. Then you can measure this clearance, but you can see, just push it with my thumb, it ain't a whole lot of clearance. I mean, I can see in there. It moves, not a whole bunch. Let me get this out of the way. There's the pin, and there's the band. That's not a lot of play. I mean, I'm gonna say that's like 60,000. That ain't a whole lot. I don't like that. That scares me a little, but that's what they want. That is the, I mean, you're gonna take 50, what? I don't know what the gasket is. The gasket's not here, so let's say that's 7 thousandths. So you can add about 7,000 to it. Oh, gee, you know, it's not a whole lot. But yeah, that's not a lot of play. So is this method better than the Transgo method where you put big washers in here and you space the piston in? They both take up clearance. What's the difference? So that's probably why Transgo or anybody else ever created a crazy pin like this. So I guess you don't really need it. I thought it was kind of cool. So whether I copied it or not, I can't tell you. I just wanted to try it with the clearance setting that Fairbanks recommends on this paper card. Just see how it hits. I mean, with my luck, I'll do all that work and it'll shift exactly the same as it does now. So it won't be worth anything. So I just want to show it to you. So that was a Fairbanks servo pin I stumbled across, and I don't know. Maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't. I got to get this training together and stop screwing around because I'm sick of looking at it, quite honestly. I'm getting tired of looking at this thing. So that's all I got. Actually, no, there is one more thing I was going to show you. What was it? Oh, I already filmed it. I bought another valve body and I videoed the TV boost valve compared to my stock one. And what I wanted to do while I was here was measure a stock Turbo Sunbird reverse boost valve. There's another piece of video I'm going to edit in that shows you a V6 Beretta valve body I bought, and the TV boost valve is a 344. My Sunbird one was a 365, and the reverse boost valve, I wanted to measure my stock one. Yeah, the stock one was like 261, 262 on the small side. I want to say it's 352 or something on this side. Yeah, it's 352. See, my memory isn't gone yet. Boom, there you go. So the Turbo Sunbird TV boost valve and reverse boost valve are the biggest I've come across yet. Not by a ton. I want to say the Beretta one was like 331 maybe. I'll have to go back to the video. But if you have a Turbo Sunbird valve body at your disposal, that's the one to use. At least 87 and up. They seem to have the bigger TV boost valve and reverse boost valve, which is worth something when it comes to line pressure under load. So keep that in mind. The V6 ones aren't terrible, but the turbo 4-cylinder one seems to be the best. So take that for what it's worth. So that's my exploration this week. I have got to get this transmission together and get it out of my sight. I'm sick of looking at it. So join me next time, and I'm sure I'll be doing something stupid, but hopefully it's entertaining. So thanks for watching. See you later. The last thing I want to show you today is, if you recall, when I made this 475 boost valve, I had showed you that there's no gap between the valve and the body. I shine a light on it. You see there's no air gap. And I was questioning if it should be there or not. If you push that down, you get it to go away. I mean, there's the slightest little gap, but if I had a third hand, I could show you. You push it down and the gap goes away. And when I had machined this thing, I thought that I left a burr in there, and that's why it wouldn't seat correctly. So I took it out with a cutter. I went back in and fixed it. Yeah, fixed with, you know, air quotes. And I had my other Sunbird, my original Sunbird 365 boost valve, had a air gap, and the guy from Transgo said, run it like that, the stock valve, just use it, and it works fine. So this is a brand new valve body I bought. brandy new. This is the boost valve and bushing out of it. This is the one I showed you earlier, the 344. And look at that. That's quite a bit more of a gap than mine has. I mean, mine really has nothing. All you're seeing is the rock of the valve because of my shitty machining tolerances. You know, if I was to push it down, it's gone. I mean, it might have the tiniest of a hair, but effectively there is no gap. So I'm seeing, and you're seeing, that this is supposed to have a gap. I don't know why they did that. I don't know, maybe it gives the fluid a head start on getting in or getting out. I don't know, but there is a gap, and they've been consistent. Mine originally had it before I machined it. The other stock one I took out had it. That last transmission I have, when I take it apart, I'll check that one too, but I'll bet you it's gonna have it. So that has gotta be part of the problem with why this didn't work, well, why that one didn't work. I don't know. I don't know what else could go wrong, but I want to show this for posterity that they do have an air gap. I don't know if there's a step in here. I'll have to get a boroscope or something. I think I saw a little step. There it is. I don't know. I don't know. Let's get a shot of my finger. I could put a boroscope down there and get a real good look at it. But it could be that they're just that back wall. They don't lay it back far enough. Christ, where is it? It could be they just don't machine it because they want it to, you know, leak or whatever. I don't know, but there's definitely a gap there. So I wanted to preserve that for posterity. There's something going on in there. So when I fix my valve for the last time, I will try to put a gap back in it and see if that does the trick. I mean, if not, I'll finally flush it down the drain, but I am not a quitter. I just wanted to show you that before I round things out today. So thanks again for watching. Hope your projects are going awesome, and I will talk to you next time.